Well, good evening, everyone. This is Ella Thorpe from Talk to the Doctor. We're the integrative holistic uh, medicine office, functional medicine office here in Tustin, California, and we meet every Monday at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. We try to answer questions in general. We are not giving specific medical advice, but we are looking for questions that you might have and how the general approach would be from a functional medicine, integrative medicine point of view. We are 7 physicians here at Tustin Longevity Center. We've been here 21 years, and prior to that, in other locations. And so we are here to take your questions. You can type into the chat if you're on YouTube. You can type them in, and then I'll try and see them and answer them to the best of my ability. I may not know the answer, but for the most part, after practicing 41 years, you have a general approach to almost everything. And then sometimes people email their questions in. I have a series of email questions that have been sent to us. If you look in the link section at the bottom here, you'll see a link where you can email in your questions. And then we'll go from there and see if we can be a help to our patients, to our patients' families and their friends, and just see how a functional doctor would try to approach some of the general concerns that you might have. So we'll start with our emailed in questions tonight, October 10th, 2022. And Pamela types into the email link. She says, one of my coworkers just asked me to pray for her appointment coming up for a recurrent non-malignant brain tumor. She had surgery over 5 years ago and it started growing in the last year. She was COVID vaxxed and boosted last March. She says she often has headaches. They are offering surgery or radiation. I told her no more boosters. Besides encouraging low carb, what else can I suggest? Any provider you would suggest closer to Torrance? I don't know anyone closer to Torrance, but number one, she should follow with her oncologist for management. I suppose there's a potential for any tumor to change in its character and become more serious. But the issue is we have had glioblastoma multiformes here, several of them, and we have some of the longest survivors in the state. We put them on a carnivore diet or a very strict keto diet. And then we use high-dose vitamin C and chelation therapy and certain enzymes, certain nutraceuticals, and such as vitamin D with systemic enzymes, plus some others. Iodine is one of them. We do a complete nutrient assay. So we would look to help the detoxing and the nutritional immune support for people such as this. But we have seen tremendous success with even the worst type of brain tumor, glioblastoma multiforme, with the ketogenic carnivore type diet, time restricted eating, and so forth. So hopefully they can find someone who will help them in that venue, and as they follow along with their oncologist, and if they need further surgery or if they need radiation, of course they should follow their oncologist's advice. Hopefully that's a help, Pamela. Let's see, Chris. Chris says, my niece, who is in her 30s, got the C19 vax. Since then, she has had many health issues, including hair loss, mood swings, chronic fatigue, brain fog, headaches, low libido, general feeling unwell, and getting sick every few weeks. I think you had mentioned using chelation with some patients. Is there anything else that you could recommend to help her? She lives back east. Well, if you go to acam.org, acam.org, you might find a chelation physician. That's the American College for the Advancement of Medicine. And there are many, many physicians all over the nation that do chelation therapy, which will improve the vasculature, microvasculature. And it is believed, I don't know that this has been scientifically proven yet, but anecdotally, we have seen a lot of chelating physicians find that with the improved circulation, the pharmacokinetics of the spike protein show that it is a cation. All heavy metal toxins are cations. That means they're positive in charge overall. Whereas EDTA chelation is negative, and it attracts this. And so the theory is that it might be pulling out spike protein, which would be a good thing. Quercetin is an over-the-counter nutrient herb. Quercetin, Quercitin, quercetin, and taking 400 milligrams twice a day not only acts as an antiviral ionophore to help prevent colds and stuff, but it also seems to help with binding viruses as well as possibly the spike protein, which is part of a viral presentation. Using high-dose vitamin C orally, if you can't find a chelation doctor who would give it intravenously, I would try and take 1 or 2 grams twice a day. Drinking half her weight in ounces every day. So if she's 150, she needs 75 ounces of water every day. And to disinflame from the microscopic endothelial damage of the potential production of continued spike protein by using enzymes such as the vascuzyme or the vitalzyme, proteozyme. These are systemic enzymes that you can use twice a day on an empty stomach. Being low carb is very important. Learning to eat so that you are in a time restricted zone and stop eating by 6 p.m. Regular exercise, even if it's only nominal, just being faithful even with what little you can do and building it up. And of course, following her local physician there, and maybe she can find through acam.org a chelating physician. So Chris, I hope that might be a help and an answer for you. Tara says, hello, how do you know of any connection between heavy metal toxicity and ototoxicity? How do you know? Well, I don't know of any article per se, scientific paper on that link. I could do a search maybe at another time, but the theory would be the tiny capillaries that are involved in the eighth nerve there that helps with the hearing and with the microcirculation around the concha and the loops of Helene and all the microvasculature that's important in the whole healthy maintenance and physiology of hearing would be improved with microcirculation. As you reduce the oxidative stress that heavy metal toxins bring to the body wherever you're talking, whether it's in the brain or the eye or the heart or tissues, the nerves, as you reduce that oxidative stress, it's usually a help. So we would propose to you that as the microcirculation improves with EDTA chelation, not only the ear, but all parts of the body would be benefited. So Tara, hopefully that would be a beginner point for you. Let's see, Carrie asks, what would you suggest to someone suffering from multiple chemical sensitivities? Well, you should see your physician and be evaluated. But if it's been determined that there is no finding on their evaluation of any impending serious issue, but that you're usually people with multiple chemical sensitivities are people who have, like they'll smell a perfume and it'll produce symptoms, headache, nausea, fatigue, uh, bloating, tingling paresthesias, various things like this. If they eat a food, it might generate this. And oftentimes this is associated with mold. Mold is often thought of as the last resort. So what would I suggest for someone who has multiple chemical sensitivities? Work with your doctor, and if they have the time or if they're not familiar with functional medicine, I would do a complete digestive stool analysis of your stool, and that is done by Doctor's Data in St. Charles, Illinois. And that is a absolutely wonderful evaluation of your body's digestive system and inflammation. Very often that is a contributor to the weakening of your immune system. The other thing is I would get a heavy metal test. I would do a EDTA chelation challenge where they give you EDTA a certain amount over an hour and a half to 3 hours, and you collect your urine. We do a 6-hour urine collection. Others do a 24-hour urine collection, and you could look at your burden of heavy metal toxins. And then we would look at a very thorough, comprehensive screen of your sugar metabolism, because it's so common to see metabolic syndrome, hypersensitivity to insulin, and resistance from the high carb diet. We would want to know your blood type because and your age. If you're not digesting well, you probably would be benefited by supportive enzymes. Sometimes natural hormone replacement therapy is very valuable depending on your age and situation. Certain herbs that help the adrenal gland with stress, often multiple chemical sensitivities are associated with such a chronic stress that the adrenals become sluggish, and there are some natural things that can help that. Following a more humble diet, which reduces inflammatory triggers and stressors. So we teach a one menu day. So you eat only one item. For instance, if you have a chicken day, that you would have that for all your meals on that 24-hour period. If you have with the chicken a certain vegetable, that's what you would have. And so we're teaching one menu day that reduces stress on your immune system. So those would be some beginner points, but I think the mold issue and screening for mold is a very important concern here. A very good antioxidant assay, we use SpectraCell, and it would be looking for glutathione. That's very important in detoxing N-acetylcysteine. So your level of ability to resist oxidative damage. Those would be a starter point that I would suggest, Carrie, and then work with your local doctor and find maybe a functional integrative doctor. And very often ACAM, the American College for the Advancement of Medicine, acam.org, you might find someone there. Let's see, Christina says, asks the question, does it matter when the daily water quota is filled? If I don't drink enough water during the day, do I still benefit if I drink the remainder of the ounces after returning from work? Thank you. Yes, it does. So it's very beneficial. And I would encourage you, Christina, to try and get your water volume in every day. Christina also emails the question, should I discontinue using moisturizers with SPF protection in them? I heard you mention that you don't like the chemicals in sunscreens. And also, what about for kids? What sun protection do you recommend for them? Thank you. Essentially, I don't use anything. For myself, I do use natural progesterone cream, and that is the only thing I use. Otherwise, I use lightweight clothing, linen, long sleeve, and a hat, and that is all I do. But natural progesterone is known to have a protective effect. So there are over-the-counter creams of natural progesterone that I use and that seem to be beneficial. For children, I would probably use, I don't see many children, but what I used for my children was a vitamin E in Eucerin cream. I remember having that compounded for them, and that's what we did. Amela says, "Hi, Dr. E. At what age are teenagers considered adults when it comes to iodine supplementation?" Well, it isn't age, it's really more the weight. So anytime a child weighs about 90, 95 pounds, then you can treat them like an adult as far as dosing for supplementation and such. So 95 pounds is about the range I would go. Let's see, I am giving my kids iodoral 6.25 milligrams. They are 13, 16, and 17, and they all tested deficient on the iodine prior to supplementation. I wonder when and if they should be taking 12 and a half. I think they could all take 12 and a half right now because that was the standard diet for the average Japanese person. And that would include most of the children who had reached the size of about 90 pounds. So I think you're very safe to use 12 and a half milligrams. Let's see. Amila says also another question. The Kokoro progesterone cream website has Prop 65 warning. I recently started my 17-year-old on it. Should I be concerned? Essentially, that was required in California. And I believe that's because if there's any possibility of some trace heavy metals, that it has to be identified. And I would say it's very hard to live in a world that's so industrialized with lead flowing around so much. It's in the surface crust dust. So it's in everything. It's in your foods and all. Therefore, I would not be concerned about it. Denise says, "Hi, Dr. Rita. Is vitamin D3 okay for a dementia patient to take? And if so, is 10,000 international units too much for 1 month, reducing to 5,000 after that? She doesn't sleep well, and I've read that D deficiency could be a contributing factor. She is 92 years old. Thank you, and may the Lord continue to bless you and your family and staff." Thank you so much, Denise. I think it's very safe to give 10,000 international units of vitamin D3 to someone. I would try and get it with the K2 with it, vitamin D3 with K2. We have the D3 10,000 with K2 90 micrograms. And then have the doctor check her vitamin D level a month later. I don't think you ever need to drop to 5,000, and it would be most supportive on so many levels, her immune system, for her bone health, for her whole general health. And so, yes, feel very comfortable doing that, even if she's only 100 pounds, and then just check the level with her local doctor there. Estrella says, "Hi, Dr. Ellithorpe. My husband is a patient of yours. He just had a colonoscopy this past Friday. Do you recommend he take any post-colonoscopy for gut health? Thank you for all you do." If he is a patient, he probably has already been prescribed a healthy diet and certain nutraceuticals. I do think it's wise, after you've had anything done with your gut, endoscopy from the throat on down or colonoscopy, to use a probiotic. Orthobiotic put out by Orthomolecular is very, very good. And taking one a day is probably smart, but there shouldn't really be any specific thing that is needed, Estrella, and so he should do quite well. Tara says, "What mineral vitamins do you recommend when going through chelation therapy?" essentially, it's been taught throughout all the years, and when I teach chelation therapy for ACAM to other physicians, we always ask them to use more because of just tradition rather than any science-based research. We ask them to go on a multivitamin mineral supplement. Any standard multivitamin mineral supplement for an adult is adequate. And so there is no fear that chelation itself is going to be associated with any particular vitamin or mineral deficiency, because it really only works the first 6 to 8 hours, and it's pretty much out of your system. So your normal lifestyle and dietary behavioralism will be the theme of how well you are doing. But we still recommend any standard multivitamin mineral over-the-counter supplement. But again, don't fall into this pit thinking that chelation reduces healthy minerals and such. This is more folklore and mythology. I have never seen it in all the decades after decades after decades that I have used chelation therapy. Tara also goes on to ask, what do you think is the reasoning behind doctors saying EDTA can cause brain damage? Thank you. I don't know what reasoning there is, because there is no reasoning. EDTA chelation has been given millions of doses yearly for the past 60, 70 years. And I certainly have been involved with it in medical practice for the last 40 years. That is a foolish statement for a doctor to make based on what data, based on what assumptions. So no, that would be a very wrong thing to say, that EDTA can cause brain damage. That's preposterous. Okay. Helen says, I have a friend whose young son has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It has been recommended that he starts medication. He is not hyperactive. He has a difficult time focusing and following directions. She is looking for alternative options and was wondering what you might recommend. I would certainly find out what his blood type is. I would certainly find out what his hemoglobin A1C is. That's the average amount of blood sugar glucose sticking to the protein hemoglobin. And that's an average over a 3-month period of time. So anytime you get a sample, it's referencing the last 3 months of spikes of sugar. Sugar creates a hyperactive child, and that includes fruit sugar, a fructosamine along with a hemoglobin A1C. So a fructosamine is for the fructose sugar, and the hemoglobin A1C is for the glucose. And then get a fasting insulin and get their triglycerides done. If they're elevated, we know that he's getting too much sugar all the time, and that'll make someone fidgety and then have these crashes and lack of focus. I would also probably ask them to put the child on Juice Plus. We found in the studies with children on Juice Plus over the last 20 years, nearly 20 years, at least 15, those children, irrespective of their economic status, and this is worldwide, and I think Juice Plus is in at least 30 or so countries. These children who take it have had better academic performance, better athletic performance, less allergies, less over-the-counter medicines used, less medications prescribed use, less doctor visits, less missed days from school, and so forth. So I would strongly encourage them to go on the Juice Plus. We put all our young children here on Juice Plus, vitamin D, iodoral, which is iodine, and we instruct the patient's parents on a low-carb diet, and that's essentially the focus of what we give them. We might give them minerals depending on other factors, but that's essentially what we do, and that's where I would begin. Carrie says, questions, if someone has had an allergic reaction to fish in the past, are they able to take fish supplements? It depends. Not all fish, sea life is equal. So if they were eating shrimp and they had the reaction, that wouldn't be the same as let's say, salmon or other type of fish. But you see, I am not anyone who supports taking fish oil. Fish oil are for fish. Fish can get in cold water and they have to move and they don't want to freeze, and oils don't freeze. So God puts lots of double bonds in the fatty acids of fish. So EPA has 6 double bonds and DHA has 5 double bonds. So those fish are always going to move, and they're never going to get so cold in the water, even if it's down to 29 degrees, because moving water sometimes at that low temperature will not freeze. So these fish have all these double bonds, and they're swimming and living at 32, 29 degree weather. But we are 98.6 degrees, and the more warm you are, the less a double bond will survive in a body. So if you're taking these double bonds, you're going to have a higher likelihood of oxidation damage and stress from doing that to yourself all the time. The oils, the fatty acids that God gave to human beings are linoleic and alpha-linoleic acid. And they have 2 and 3 double bonds respectively. And this is normally found in egg yolk and eating the nuts and seeds and meat, fish, chicken with the skin on it, these kind of things. And so that's what we use. So I don't even recommend using fish oil. And then the last one, Doug says here, after having arterial bypass surgery and taking a beta blocker and a statin, would chelation therapy be beneficial? Would taking vitamin K be beneficial in keeping cholesterol levels low? Well, the number one thing to keep cholesterol and everything low is a low-carb diet, because the more starch and fruit sugars and carbohydrates you eat every day, the higher your triglycerides and the higher the damage is going to create to cells, and that damage will be picked up by your liver, and your liver will see the damaged fragments and produce more and more cholesterol. So the number one thing you have to do is be on a very low carbohydrate diet, try and do some exercise, drink enough water every day, half your weight as ounces daily. And yes, EDTA chelation will always help. If you look at the tech trial 1, 2, and 3, go to TACT Update 2019, Dr. Lamas. That's the title of the YouTube. That's TACT Update 2019, Dr. Lamas, Lamas. And when you go to YouTube, listen to his 15-minute, he's a cardiologist, head of Cedars-Sinai cardiology department there, and he did the National Institute of Health research on the Tech Trial 1, the Tech Trial 2, the Tech Trial 3, and he was very impressed with the data. And actually, I paraphrase his statement, but he'll make in that video a statement saying there is no medication a cardiologist can give you that would be of more benefit than EDTA chelation. And so, Doug, hopefully that will be a blessing to you as you learn about that. Let's see, we have some items being called in here on our chat. And so the first one that shows up is from Deborah. Hi, Debbie. How are you? Deborah is my sister, and so I always enjoy talking to her at least. What are the benefits of pycnogenol French maritime pine bark extract. Does TLC have this in the TLC store or something like it? Well, pycnogenols are powerful families of antioxidants, and there have been, I think, Apex Nutritionals, APEX, has made that in the past. And I've used it, but now that I have Juice Plus and I have such great antioxidant, I really don't look for other, golly gee whiz individual antioxidants. And I'm just not impressed. So, yes, in the world of biochemistry, we probably have only figured out the antioxidants that are in, let's say, even in an apple. Let's say there's 10,000 biochemical findings on studying of an apple, but that's probably only the tip of the iceberg of all the wonderful nutrient elements that are within an apple. So when we find one item like a pycnogenol, pine bark extract, and such like this, we get excited, science gets excited, and I'm glad they look at these things. But when you look at the whole food concentrate of 30 different fruits, vegetables, and berries that are in Juice Plus, and you see the 25-year history of it, and we're talking millions of children that have been participating in the children's health studies with all their great results. And then I did my own study on the antioxidants. I just don't worry about trying to find one isolated antioxidant that'll and usually they all worked in tandem, and they work better with a low carb person, and they work better in a person who is drinking enough water, and it works better in a person who gets a good night's sleep, and it works better in a person who has some exercise. So look, we have to put everything in its balance, and so that's what I feel about pycnogenols, Debbie. All right. Dolores says, hi, Dr. Rita. My son, who is 50, asked if I had taken shingles shot. I have not taken it. All right. So she goes on to say, what do you advise? What is in the shot? And then she said, I appreciate your time and wisdom. Well, the shingles shot is supposed to be a vaccination in which you will develop antibodies to the varicella virus family that is associated with shingles. And so in all my years of practice, I have never seen it make a difference at all. Instead, I find that people who are taking extra vitamin D to the point where they're getting their doctor to have their blood checked maybe once or twice a year, and they make sure they're dosing, and I find it to be roughly D3 10,000 bare minimum, and I like it with K2. If they're on that much vitamin D, if they are taking extra vitamin C, if they are low carb, if they're getting a good night's sleep, and all the natural things that support natural immunity, that is what I find to be very beneficial. Now, there's never been a vaccination study, to my knowledge, but I believe I'm right in saying this. When you look at all the childhood vaccine schedule, it has never been studied in a controlled study compared to unvaccinated children. And you'll see that the one pediatrician did this within his population. I think he's from Oregon. I don't recall his name, Dr. Park. I don't recall, but they took his license away for publishing a book that talks about his own study of his patients, in which he found that those parents who had not had their children vaccinated had far less allergies, far less asthma, far less missed school days, far less chronic medical problems compared to those that were partial or fully vaccinated. So if if you're hearing things that are suggesting you to do it, you would have to ask the question back, did they have a comparative study of older adults who did not use it? Because I just don't see it happening to my population of patients who are all getting these wonderful supportive nutrients. So that would be my answer, Dolores. Um, let's see, ZTJ1611. Dr. Rita, my girlfriend has polycystic ovarian syndrome. Can you give some insight on the condition, treatment, and effects of fertility? Thank you. That is from the American Dietary Standard Diet. The Standard American Diet, or the SAD diet, is a diet full of fake food, high carbohydrate, hydrogenated fats, and dyes, and it is a diet that is so high in carbohydrates, it has chronically stimulated the hormone insulin in the human body, and that insulin stimulation actually stimulates the ovaries to develop the multiple cysts as a complication, and that is also associated with fibroids and endometriosis, anything that is associated with natural secondary sexual characteristic development. So it is a hyperinsulinemia problem from the diet, eating bread, starch, cereal, cracker, bagel, popcorn, too many nuts and seeds, crackers, ice cream, pizza. All that stuff is available all the time, and we're eating it too much. The best thing to do would be to move toward a carnivore diet or a extremely low keto diet for many months until you get your labs from your local doctor that show an insulin fasting level of 4 or less, a triglyceride level fasting of 75 or less, a insulin blood sugar fasted of 80 or less, and a hemoglobin A1C of 5.4 or less. And that's being generous. I'm harder on my own patients, but without that, there's very little hope that the follicles will behave and normally work. So you can start working on that immediately. Do intermittent fasting, never eat past 6 o'clock, exercise, do some weight resistance training, drink half your weight as water every single day, never eat late. That's how I would begin working on that ZTJ1611. Dorothy says, please check out the recovery of Matt HSU of Upright Health. He reversed his own injury through stretching, strengthening muscles and tendons and ligaments. Well, it's very valuable. We agree for the stretching and exercise, and it needs to be a significant and lifestyle component for any healthy person. Even the older person should be doing weight training. Tiziana says, are there supplements or herbs or algae such as chlorella and spirulina that can help with chelation for those people that cannot afford chelation, EDTA chelation? Well, these are chelating herbs. Chlorella has always been corrupted because natural existing chlorella in the green of the plants is designed to detox, so to say, mercury in the environment. So if a product is put out to you and it, excuse me. Hey, I'm on the YouTube right now. Sorry.
Oh, okay, I'm so sorry. I'll call you later.
Okay, all right, bye. Had to answer that one. So chlorella is associated with, pulling out mercury. So when we were looking to try and find a chlorella concentrate that might be beneficial in doing other heavy metal detoxing, it was always confounded by the fact that the natural existing chlorella has heavy metals in it already, and that's its role. That's what it is supposed to do. So I've never put much stock in herbs that purport that chlorella is going to do any significant job. And if it is, then it's only going to be really in the gut region for what you're currently taking in. It won't have an impact on what you've bioaccumulated in your tissues over the past many decades. So these oral things like let's see, high dose vitamin C, garlic, cilantro, herbs. These are going to be able to help reduce the intake of what was in your diet or drink that day that was contaminated with heavy metals, but it won't have an impact otherwise on the systemic deposit of heavy metals. So even if you can only do 1 or 2 chelations a year, that is far better than none ever. So any IV chelation therapy is a benefit. And we can prove it because we've done hundreds of thousands of heavy metal tests on the urine after a IV, and we see a huge amount of toxins come out. Christina says, hi, Dr. Rita. What do you recommend for an older man with cirrhosis of the liver from alcohol? He had 2.5 gallons of fluid drained from the abdomen. He's taking water pills and stopped drinking. Well, God bless him for stopping drinking. He needs alpha lipoic acid, ALA, alpha lipoic acid, and I would take 500 milligrams twice a day. That would be very, very beneficial. Systemic enzymes on an empty stomach, like Vitalzyme, 5 twice a day. And then you would work with the doctor to be on a low carb diet and just very closely work with your specialist, the hepatologist, and stay on alpha lipoic acid. I also think Juice Plus would be the multivitamin concentrate that I would take on a low carb diet with the alpha lipoic acid and the enzymes, and that would be a great benefit to him. Hopefully that helps. Let us know. Deborah says, what is supraventricular tachycardia and what can cause this? Supraventricular tachycardia reflects a signal of a high rate of heart rate in the upper chamber. It looks like a acorn. You know how the cap on the acorn and then the bottom is there? Well, the top part of the heart are your atrium and the bottom is your ventricle. So supraventricular tachycardia means these top atrium are sending a signal that is generating much too fast, and the beat goes up very, very high. And what can cause this? Well, anxiety, coffee, caffeine drinks, energy drinks, too much caffeine in green tea, anxiety, drugs and speed type drugs, cocaine, all this stuff can aggravate it. So that would be the cause. Thank you, sister. God bless you. All right. Karen says, hi, Dr. Rita. Thank you for your time and care for us. Can someone eat too much protein? And what is the reason to eat only one type of meat in a day? Karen, I have never seen, when I was an ER doctor for many, many, many years, never once did I ever see anyone come in from a overconsumption of protein. Never. But have I seen people overconsume alcohol and sugar with hyperglycemia and carbohydrates? Yes. You see, to eat protein is self-satisfying. In other words, as you bring the protein into your body sends signals back of what is called being satisfied or satiation. Because protein has usually a good amount of healthy fats with it, both the fat content and the amino acid breakdown content is associated with satisfaction. And so people just don't overeat protein. Now, there are those who say if you have gout, or for instance, the gentleman with cirrhosis of the liver, you would have to, because of other factors, you would want to look at the entire metabolism of people who have gone to the point of liver cirrhosis or gouty conditions and track them. But in general, it's not the protein that is the problem. And never have I seen anyone with gout or cirrhosis of the liver overeat protein either. It's self-controlling. It is such a part of our healing, you have to incorporate it. And so I would say 1 gram per kilogram for a woman, 1.5 gram per kilogram for a man. So if a man's, an 80 kilogram, he would need about, 120 grams of protein a day. A woman would need, of course, if she was, let's say 150 pounds, let's say she's 60 kilograms, she would need at least 60 grams of protein a day, something like that. And then what else did she say? Oh, what is the reason for one type of meat in a day? Remember, the more information you put down your throat as far as the components that you put into what you're eating, both the spices and the variety, the harder it is for your immune system to sort this all out, meal after meal after day after week after year after decade. You wear it out. So the more simplified we can eat. So if you're eating chicken as your protein, we just recommend that you eat it for any meal in that 24 hours. If you're having green beans with it, we just recommend you have that with any meal you eat with your chicken. If you're having walnuts on your chicken day, then have your walnuts with any meal. And then if you're eating blueberries with it, then just have blueberries with any meal, so that you're eating a single menu, and that reduces the immune stress on your body. Sorting out spices, sorting out so much variety of food components. Now, on a special day and you want to treat, then go out and have your spicy variety of food on that wonderful meal of your celebration. But to think that marketing has tricked us all into thinking every food we eat should be an entertainment of a spicy explosion of variety in our mouth is not healthy. All right. Deborah says, why wouldn't the shrimp share his treasure? He was a little selfish. Lots of laugh. Why wouldn't the shrimp share his treasure? He was a little shellfish. There you go. Okay, that's my sister for you. What's the one? Debbie, why did the fish, or what did the fish say when it swam into the wall? What did the fish say when it swam into the wall? And it said, damn. So hopefully that's funny too. All right, Dorothy says, what could you recommend for a displaced hip that is lower than the other one? Well, it's a matter of degrees. I don't think any human body is absolutely balanced. Those of us who are right-handed tend to use our right side, and we have more muscles developed on our right just by reason of use and dominance. Therefore, the left side is going to have slightly smaller musculature, and then you will not be symmetrical. You'll be just a little bit off. More high on your right, a little lower on your left. Is that a life-threatening or long-term liability? It depends on the degree. If you had trauma and you have, a significant unevenness of the hips, yeah, that's going to be translated in every little activity you do, and that needs to be addressed. But the natural human being, there is not equal. Your eyes are not equal. Your nostrils aren't equal. Your ears aren't equal. Your hands aren't the same. And so everything is asymmetrical. The best we can do is to try and exercise, stretch, and do resistance training, some aerobic training, a good night's sleep, low carb diet, drink adequate water, and have treat others as you would have them treat you. Let's see, Tiziana, I think Dr. E, you have recommended Perfect Aminos. Which brand? There are a couple named Perfect Aminos on the market. Thank you. Boy, what are the? Let's see. Do I have them here? Yeah, I do. All right, so Body Health is the one I use. And this is the Dr. Mankiewicz, and he has it in a powdered form as well. My husband cannot take the tablets. He's so pilled out and capsuled out. He was so happy when they came up with the powdered form. So that's the one that I use. Karen D, thank you. So very helpful. Well, God bless you, Karen. My dog, Layla. Okay, great information. Thank you. Sanad. Okay, hi, Dr. Ellithorpe. What do you think about taking dicyclamine for the stomach pain? My daughter is 14 and her gastroenterologist prescribed it for occasional stomach pain. Her calprotectin level was 245. So she's inflamed. Sanad, I would see a functional doctor who would find out what her blood type is. If she's a blood type A, she's not going to digest well. She's not making enough enzymes, so she'll have broken up, dysfunctional digestion, and this will be translated into stress all the way down the gut. So find out her blood type. If it is A, then you have to help her with digestive enzyme with betaine hydrochloric acid with every meal she eats. Take a capsule or two, or at least the meals that have a rich protein and healthy fat component. The other thing is very often we haven't been eating enough healthy fats and proteins, and so we help heal the lining of the gut, the gas, the bloating, by having our patients take phospholipids, BioPC Pro with SBI Protect powder. And we take a scoop of each of these because when we point out that the cell membrane is phospholipid and protein, and let's say you have this injury here, this hole in it right here, it's blown out of the cell membrane. Well, those fragments signal injury to the liver and cholesterol is made. But then you have to eat the meat, the fish, the chicken for restoring the protein and the fat. So one of the things we also do is we have the essential fat of the linoleic and alpha linoleic liquid form as a liquid, and these are capsules. So we would take a scoop of each of these, and then you'd put a little dribble of the oil in it. First thing in the morning, last thing at night. You could do it more often, but usually once or twice a day will solve it. And then we see great healing in the lining of the gut. But see a functional doctor, find out her blood type, get in some essential phospholipids and so forth. One of the other things we do is we give them the powdered probiotic, either orthobiotic or this. This is more powerful. It's the strongest one. So when we take these powders like this, a scoop of each, and then we put in a packet of the powder. So all these things help the gut heal, and we try and have them restrict their eating time from, let's say, if she's a young girl, we try and have her eat between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. so that she has at least 16 hours to heal. Hopefully that will be helpful. Maybe you can find a good functional doctor or see one of the other doctors here. Lisi, how to prepare your body for Tepizza infusions. What harms does it do with your body by blocking IGF? I am not familiar with that. Let me see if I can call that up on my other computer here. Tepizza, Tepezza. It's teprotumumab. Looks like it's a monoclonal antibody. Let's see, just a moment here. Well, I can't find out much more about it. It seems to be mostly associated with use for autoimmune thyroid disorders. It seems like an immunotherapy for that. So I can't speak to that really because I'm not familiar, Lisi, with Tepezza infusions. And I certainly don't see anything right off the bat here. Just looking it up now with insulin growth factor 1. So I would have to ask you to wait till next week. Let me make myself a note because it's interesting. See how I stay informed by doing this? I get all you wonderful patients who are keeping me up on these new things as well. Sorry I couldn't be more helpful. Sanad, she is blood type B negative, and her blood tests were normal. Any thoughts about Crohn's? I would see a functional doctor like ourselves here, and I would have the immunoglobulin G, G as in good, IgG antibodies are associated with more of a slow reactivity. Immunoglobulin E are the immediate fast hives. If you did the immunofood test, you can see the foods that you might be reacting to. You might put her on a carnivore diet with some digestive enzyme, 1 capsule, and that'll eliminate all the triggers of all things that could be creating stomach issue and inflammation. But I would do the complete digestive stool analysis, the immunofood allergy test. I would probably do an iodine test, a 24-hour urine iodine test on her, and then bring all her labs to the doctor. These are functional tests that most labs are not familiar with. You would have to see a functional doctor to understand what I'm talking about. But what I mentioned on the SBI Protect and the BioPC Pro and the probiotic would be very good, but she needs to restrict her diet and probably use a digestive enzyme. Debbie Hamilton, I'm embarrassed to say that I take CVS lysine to keep from getting fever blisters on my lips, but it works for me. Is there something better that I should take? Well, lysine is an amino acid, so I don't know that there's anything embarrassing about that. And a lot of people have viral fever blisters. So if that natural lysine is helping you, I'd be happy with it, Debbie. That'd be just fine. I don't see a problem with what you're doing. She also said, my granddaughter has been diagnosed with ADHD and has a great diet and plenty of exercise. What supplements would be best for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder? Well, I'm going to say the Juice Plus. I'm going to say vitamin D. And then, I would want to know her blood type to go any further than that. But those are fabulous things to start. All right, well, it's 7 o'clock on the dot, and I have work again tomorrow, so I am going to bring this to a close. If you have questions, don't hesitate to go to the link down below and to type in your question to the Ask the Doctor or Talk to the Doctor. Then we should be doing this Friday. I'm sorry I was not here last Friday, just things got too busy around the clinic. We try and do a bonus half hour Fridays 9:30 till 10 a.m. But we can't commit to that always because that's in the midst of a day. And if like something goes up or happens I have to attend to, I can't 100% guarantee during working hours. But we'll try and do it again Friday and every Friday at that. And then let's see. We will. If you can, share this, like and subscribe. Please leave a comment. I do look at the comments sections, and that, of course, helps with sharing this. And we do have a blog. The blog, our website is tlcdoctors.com, TLC Doctors, and you'll see this whole thing kind of with topical questions all typed out. A lot of people just like scanning through the written part, and anyone that catches them, they just read that question and its response. So if it's a blessing to you, please like and subscribe. Link to the questions below and type in when you're on live. And at that, I would say God bless and take care. All right, bye-bye.